Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Racing Productions MC and producer. And joining me today is Chip Pie. Welcome.
Hello, how's everybody out there in Racine land?
Racine Land, I love it. Welcome, Chip. How are you today?
I'm doing well, doing well.
Perfect, perfect. Well, it is great to have you here with us today. Now, I want to kick this off with just having you introduce yourself to our audience and letting them know a little bit about you, your background, your experience, what you do.
Great. Well, my name is Chip Pie, and I'm a photographer here in Washington, D.C. I'm so D.C., I actually live in Silver Spring, Maryland. And I have been photographing DC's music culture for years, 20 plus years here. And 12, 13 years ago, decided I wanted to have my collection of photographs to be a complete representation of what the DC music scene was. And as a white guy in Silver Spring, I knew nothing about go-go, and someone had told me that DC was the second largest live music town in the country to New Orleans because of go-go. So I decided to point my lens towards go-go. And for 10 years, I was like the only white guy in go-go. And Chuck Brown, in the last 2 years before he passed, pulled me aside, and I began photographing what became the last 2 years of Chuck Brown's life.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Tell me, what's something that you've learned, doing these type of, photographs for the last 10 years? Anything backstage, taking photographs that, would be interesting to someone who has never been to one, a go-go space before, much less being backstage?
Sure. Well, when we're talking about being backstage, I want everyone to know that just in February of this year for Black History Month, my book, DC Go-Go 10 Years Backstage, was published on the History Press. And, oh, here we go. What are we doing? Oh, it's published. There it is. There's a copy of that. And you can get signed copies of this book from me at www.chippiephotographer.com. And again, my name is Chip Pie, just 2 letters, P-Y. So that's chippiephotographer.com. And so backstage wise, that I learned, that's a good question. I can tell you that in retrospect, here's a great thing that I've observed backstage in all genres of music, is that performers, minutes before they hit the stage, performers start to act a little differently, and you can see stage fright in their eyes and in their persona. And there's many, many different ways in which they handle that. We all have that. I had a little stage fright prior to coming here, and I've noticed that it's a private time, so it's difficult for a photographer to capture. But in some ways, I wish I did. But what I did capture was the lively go-go scene in its authenticity here in Washington, D.C. And my entire catalog of images was acquired by the DC Public Library in 2021 for the archival history of DC's culture. And then working with the library, I was able to approach the History Press about writing this book, which has over 250 photos, plus 9 chapters of what I learned about go-go.
Perfect, perfect. Now, what was the process like of, getting this book together from the photos to the writing? How long was the process to get to do it? And what was it like for you? How did you feel, getting it together and finally seeing that finished work?
Seeing the finished work was awesome, but there's a lot of work that goes into into the work. And prior to well, in 2014, I started doing PowerPoint presentations around town with 35 to 50 of my images in a presentation. And at that time, I sat down and said, okay, you have these photos. What do they say as a collection of photos? And so, because when I stood up to do my power, I had to tell a story and use my photos to tell the story. So I had pretty much outlined and had been giving the presentation. That thought process was done years ago. Now, when the library approached me about acquiring these images, they required that they all needed to be captioned and tagged prior to my turning them over. And that was about a 7-month project that I did during
Wow.
2020. And so the having so being with my images, because I hadn't, shot many images. A lot of these pictures were taken, 10 years ago. Well, at this point, 12, but well, yeah, at that point, 10 years ago. And so being with the images and all of them, the entire catalog of 2,000 images, had it fresh in my mind. And then when my publisher said to me after she signed the agreement, she said, all right, I need you to get back to me with an outline for the book in 90 days. And I said, Kate, the outline is sitting on my desk. It's already done from my PowerPoint. So many authors take 4 or 5 years to write a book such as this. But I already had the outline and the pictures set up to how to tell the story. And it literally became a fill in the blank as I worked through it. And it took a little under a year, So
Certainly.
but one of the challenges, and all writers face this, is your discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first, I would say, 5 months of the project, I would start in the morning and sit down to write, and I would get up when I was done with a thought and start pacing the room, and I was fighting that. And then when it came to the point where you have 2 months left to get this done, I accepted the fact that I pace around the house. And one of the things I also did then was I didn't get dressed, because if I got dressed, I would go out and run errands, come up with reasons to go out and do things, and then that would be it for writing that day. So that's a big part of the process. And every writer, it was COVID. I didn't have a lot of, but other writers like, oh yeah, everybody's got their quirks and how they write.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, with so many pictures, so many photographs over such a long period of time, how did you, basically pick, choose, and refuse which went into the book and which did not? What drew you to some of the pictures, the ones that made the book?
Well, I've always had my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to align pictures to the story. And of course, I had many more. So the challenge then was editing down, because as it all came together, with pictures and what I had written and the captions that I had, the economics of books, especially this book in particular with the History Press, is the price of the book is related to the cost, which is the price of paper and binding and everything. And of course, with the crazy economy we had, the price of paper was up. So we had to make decisions at the end of the process, or at the last minute, the end of the process, that a lot of stuff had to come out. And to me, that's kind of you know, oh, I'm going to say it's frustrating because, you know, there are some pictures, there are some more, many more stories to be told, much more to show. But, you know, we all have to work within the constraints of what, you know, economics of things will allow us to do.
Certainly, certainly. That is so important. That is so important. And so the book is out. What has been the response so far since it has been out?
I've gotten great response. You know, friends and family, but also people in the go-go community, you know, who are really pleased to have the recognition that go-go has never received. Having a book like this, having the library acknowledge that and want to preserve the history of go-go, that's pretty exciting for the people you know, this is their lives work. And that's great. The other one of the greatest things of recognition is that Rolling Stone reached out to me, and
Oh,
this book and 14 of my images and the story of go-go was included in there online at Rolling Stone. And Rolling Stone, I'm sorry, go-go has never, oh, there we go. Yes, go-go has never had that kind of recognition in Rolling Stone magazine.
mhm.
When I Googled go-go in Rolling Stone, the only thing that ever showed there was the notice that Chuck Brown had passed in 2012.
Ah, wow. Well, you have captured so many different, moments in so many different spaces in many different times, really capturing a big piece of, the cultural pie that is Washington, D.C. What would you like the legacy of your photographs and this book to be when the conversation of go-go comes up in Washington D.C.?
Well, I'm really happy that my photos are preserved in the library and in the book for generations to come. For 10 years they just simply sat on the hard drive of my computer, as we get older and stuff like that, I started to wonder what would happen to them after me. So I'm really glad that we now have them out there and preserved for generations to come. D. Floyd's great grandkids and Chuck Brown's, all of these people who are going to be one day be ancestors to somebody. Their work and the culture of go-go is preserved. And so one of the things that I also think that's important about this book and the work that I've done is right now go-go is center stage to change as it's become DC's official music. And I talk about authentic go-go. And what I mean by authentic go-go is go-go being played in the clubs where there's no stage. And go-go has never really been accepted in the music clubs of DC. So they play in makeshift clubs, a restaurant that a promoter rents for a night. And so there's not often a stage there. The band is face to face with the audience. And with go-go's call and response, which is a huge part of the music, it's captured in those authentic settings. And what I mean by go-go is now being played at the Kennedy Center. It's being played at the Hamilton. It's being played at the Fillmore and City Winery and places like that. That even 5 years ago that wasn't even heard of. But those venues also have barriers where the audience stands back, is back from that. One of my favorite pictures in the book is Chuck Brown walking onto the stage at the 930 Club and the barrier's up, and he's pointing down to the security person to remove that barrier because he wanted to be near his people. And my pictures reflect that. But as go-go grows and the city wants to bring go-go into the spotlight and into new venues. What happens when you lose that intimate crowd? You know, the folks in the front row and in the entire, you know, with the call and response back and forth, they know what to do, and that's what keeps the groove growing, and the energy is there. You know, what happens when you put a go-go band in front of a bunch of people who aren't from DC, who've never been to a go-go, and they stand there? But actually, they won't stand there. The beat is too infectious for anybody to stand still during go-go, but they won't know what to do with that. How do you grow that cultural aspect, you know, to move go-go onto larger stages? That's a question, and that's what we're going to be looking at to see as go-go moves forward. It's kind of exciting.
Certainly. Well, Chip, how can people find out more about you, keep up with what you're doing, book you for photographs, pick up the book, and, you know, just being able to keep up with updates with you in general?
Well, my website, which is, again, chippiephotographer.com. That's chippiephotographer.com. You'll put that in the space there.
Yep, it will be in the description below.
There's that. I'm on Facebook and Twitter. Chip Pie on Facebook. Twitter, I think I'm at Pie Chip. You know, but yeah, that's where I blab myself.
Awesome. Yeah, so we will have those links in the description below, and make sure that you pick up a copy of DC Go-Go 10 Years Backstage by Chip Pie. So much wonderful musical history, all captured there for us all to experience and explore. Thank you so much, Chip, for joining me today. It has been such a pleasure.
Thank you very much. And I also want to mention one other thing. At my website, I also have limited edition fine art Chuck Brown prints in different sizes and sorts on the website. Those make wonderful home office pictures, excellent gifts. My book is a great gift for, if you know an old head go-go person, go-go fan, these are all great gifts for them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chip. Once again, the link will be in the description. And while you're there, make sure that you also follow Team Racine Productions at Team Racine on all forms of social media. Click around our YouTube channel and check out our other interviews, blogs, forums, and more. And while you're at it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But most of all, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.